Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with the OnePlus Nord N10 5G for a full review. We're dealing here with basically a lighter version of the OnePlus Nord, which we already reviewed. The price tag is, however, not that light. It should be around $400 and it's still one of the most affordable 5G phones on the market. It's got a quad camera at the backside and retains the old school approach of Oxygen OS, not skipping to the new approach of Oxygen OS 11. It comes in only one color. It's called Midnight Ice, and it's the first Snapdragon 690 5G phone CPU that we test. Okay, so let's get this going. Let's start a review of the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. Launched in November 2020, this handset measures 9mm in thickness and weighs 190 grams. I should say that when it comes to handling it, it's quite easy to use with a single hand, so that's not a problem, although it may feel a bit slippery at times. The buttons are quite comfy. You got a power button here on the right side and the volume buttons on the left side, so no problem whatsoever. It's made of polycarbonate, as you probably guessed, and the way it catches the light reminds me of the Huawei Honor 8X or the 9X. That's the vibe I'm getting. It's quite elegant. It can fool many people that it's glass, that much I can say. The build is pretty solid, and I feel a slight vibe of a Galaxy A device when looking at it. Galaxy A series from Samsung. It's got a big chin here and a pretty big cutout for the selfie camera. Now screen-wise, we're dealing with an IPS LCD with a 6.49-inch diagonal and a resolution of 2400 over 1080 pixels. It's got a 90Hz refresh rate, which is one of the selling points, and Gorilla Glass 3 protection. Now, I'll say it for sure, we got big bezels here, especially the chin, and the camera cutout, the punch hole is quite big. Now, the brightness is mediocre. I would say it's better indoors than outdoors for sure. On a sunny day, it cannot face the sun. The view angles aren't that impressive, so that's a problem for some people, so you're better off looking at it from the front. If you go to the sides or if you watch it like this, you will not be happy with the result. But the colors are pretty crisp and realistic, and that's that. Okay, now if you want other tests and measurements, you should also know that the pixel arrangement is of the RGB stripes variety, and our brightness test is a bit underwhelming, 363 lux units. Usually, to get a passing grade from us, you need 400 lux. It surpasses phones like the Huawei P Smart 2021 or the Huawei P30 Lite, but it gets beaten by hundreds of other phones, including the Oppo A72, OnePlus Nord, and Motorola One Fusion Plus. So that's not exactly my idea of an impressive display, in spite of having the high refresh rate for gamers. Okay, now if you go to the settings, you'll get some extras when it comes to the screen, so you can mess around with that adaptive brightness. Display white balance can be set to cold or warm. You can mess with the sleep mode. There's the advanced area where you can find a refresh rate, which can be 60 or 90 Hz. There's a night mode, a reading mode, there's ambient display, phone size, and display scaling. Moving further, we go inside the handset this time around to find the processor, which is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 690 5G CPU, 8nm octa-core, 2 GHz, and also accompanied by 6 gigs of RAM, as well as 120 GB of storage of the UFS 2.1 variety, and the good news is that we're also getting a microSD card slot. Okay, so there's no lag, as expected for an Oxygen OS device with pretty solid mid-range specs, and you can run games just fine, even though I don't expect you'll be pushing the details of Genshin Impact all the way to the max. Now, when it comes to the benchmarks, we go here in our sister site and we find the following. We start off with Antutu 8. As you can see, we're beating the Nokia 8.3 5G and the Moto Razr 5G, which are much pricier and better spec'd CPU-wise, and also defeating the Redmi Note 9 Pro. At the same time, we scored below in these benchmarks, below the Realme 6, and let's see what else we got here. We scored below the Realme 6 and the Redmi Note 8 Pro, as well as the Motorola Moto G 5G Plus. This is Antutu 8. Now we go to Geekbench 5, where we find the multi-core subtest. We're actually doing not bad. We're beating Motorola Edge, which is pricier, and the Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, also pricier, plus once again, Redmi Note 9 Pro. We stayed below the Moto G 5G Plus and the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G, as well as the OnePlus Nord. For gamers, we have the 3D Mark benchmark, Slingshot Extreme ES 3.1, and as you can see, were not exactly blown away by the results. It may beat last year's phones like the Huawei Nova 5T or the Nokia 8.1, but this year it only beats the Galaxy A51. It's below the Motorola One Fusion Plus and the Xiaomi Note 10, also Galaxy A71. So it fits somewhere in between the Snapdragon 730 phones and the Snapdragon 765G ones. When it comes to the temperature, that's a whole separate category we have here. Okay, so tests in benchmarks, we're at 34.6 degrees Celsius, not bad. And in games, we're at 30.2 degrees Celsius, making it one of the coolest phones ever in our game testing. We're done with that, and it's time to discuss the battery, which is actually the selling point, the unexpected selling point here. It's a 4300 mAh unit, which also offers you 30-watt charging. Now, I'm going to skip right back at our sister website, and in the battery section, you can see here the video playback. This is continuous video playback, and it's actually not bad. 14 hours and 45 minutes. Granted, I've seen better, but it beats the Huawei P Smart 2021, Huawei P40 Lite 5G, and the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite. It stays below the Poco X3 NFC and the Huawei P40 Lite, as well as the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G. Things are a bit better in continuous usage. This is actually quite impressive. 11 hours 49 minutes. It surpasses its bigger brother, OnePlus Nord, beats the Huawei P40 Lite 5G and the Nokia 8.3 5G. Stays below the likes of Galaxy A51, Huawei P40 Lite and the Oppo Reno 4 Lite. The charging is actually pretty impressive. It takes 1 hour on the dot for a full charge, and after 30 minutes you're at 60%. After 1 hour you're at, well, 100%. So that's pretty nice. 15 minutes equals 35% charging. Overall, I am pretty happy with the battery. Now on the speaker front, we have a dual setup here. One's at the bottom, one's at the top. It's actually the earpiece. So let's get things going. Now we also have here a special tuner for the music. It's the D-Rack audio. So if you go here and you go to the tuner, you have options like dynamic, movie, music. Okay, so let's turn up the heat. Here we go. Okay, now the bass may sound pretty impressive here, but it's actually rather modest. It's the song that's packing the bass. I'm pretty happy with the volume here. The voice is pretty crisp in the tunes that I listen to. There is no vibration of the case. There's no covering of the speaker when you're holding it like this in landscape. And also the high notes are pretty well heard. Not much bass is my only complaint. There's some bass, but I've heard better. Now, as far as the volume is concerned, we measured it with a tool, a decibel meter, and we're 88.3 decibels with an acoustic sample. It's superior to the Moto G8 Power and OnePlus 8 even, believe it or not, inferior to the Motorola One Fusion Plus and Huawei P Smart 2021. In games, we're at 100.3 decibels, which is quite solid, above the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 Pro, also above the Poco X3 NFC, below Oppo Reno 4 Lite and the Galaxy A51, and that's that. Now we are finally at the camera. This big punch hole here hides a 16 megapixel shooter which shoots Full HD 60 frames per second video, not just 30 frames per second as most phones. And in this module here we have a quad camera with the 64 megapixel main shooter, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel bokeh, 2 megapixel macro, and the LED flash. It shoots 4K video at 30 frames. You can also shoot, well, 64 megapixel full size shots. There's an option for that in the camera interface. And speaking of options, we also have multiple other ones like the nightscape for nighttime photos, portrait, slow-mo, panorama, ultra shot HDR, a cinematic 4K, and even ultra wide HDR. I noticed that it's available here. Okay, now let's go straight to the gallery and see the shots we've taken during the day. A pretty cloudy day. Cold day, as it often happens. Well, it's December after all. In spite of the cloudy day, I'm happy with the colors we captured here. By the way, this is a regular shot. This is the ultra wide shot, which makes things a bit darker and definitely loses quite a few of the details. We're working with 8 megapixels. When you zoom in digitally at 2x, you're actually happy with the crop and the zoom you're getting. Lacking a telephoto camera, I'm actually happy with this. It's usually the Huawei P Lite phones which deliver the best digital zoom over the past years. Okay, getting up close and personal with these three here. Actually found the details to be quite nice, and the focus was always spot on, which actually helped in close-ups and more shots. The colors are fine yet again. This is the exact same shade of green I perceived with my own eyes. Okay, now we're at the usual toys that we always photograph. I'm happy with the reds and the blues and the greens that we capture, so color-wise there's absolutely no problem. And this is the area where I usually play around with the macro. This is a macro shot. It's only 2 megapixels, so it loses resolution, but I didn't struggle to capture multiple shots like I do with other phones. We also have selfies, and to be honest, I'm quite impressed by them. They're actually not bad. Texture-wise, color-wise, detail-wise, the expression of the face is well rendered, so pretty nice. Skip the one with the closed eyes. And this is the bokeh. It separates the head from the background pretty well, doesn't catch any parts of the trees which are behind me. That's pretty nice, and it boosts up the tone of the skin and the texture of the skin. And well, that's about it as far as the selfies are concerned. This is one of the better cameras in 2020 selfie wise. Here we have bokeh, but this time with the main camera doing a fine job at separating the subject from the background. Many shots here are murky and dark on account of a cloudy day, as I said before. Okay, the colors are once again impressive in these toys here, and once again the focus is always spot on no matter the distance from the subject. And once again a bunch of macros which totally deliver in spite of the lower resolution. And check this out, excellent texture of water drops after a fresh rain on a toy made of plastic. It feels like the water is pouring from the shot straight to you, so you're going to hear the word texture a lot here, and this is probably the best photo I captured. The focus is perfect, the texture is perfect, the colors are perfect, and the water droplets are spot on. So I'm pretty impressed by what we're getting. We're actually not very far from the regular OnePlus Nord. I would say we're 10% below it, tops, and that's not bad. Those were daytime photos. I would say it can easily fight the recently tested phones like Poco X3 NFC, Oppo Reno 4 Lite, and quite a few other phones. Even the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite, not bad at all. Let's see the low light ones. You're better off sticking to the nightscape mode, otherwise the ultra-wide shots are definitely blurry. The main camera shots actually surprised me. This camera captures quite a bit of light, with or without nightscape, so the street light sources are also well rendered. They're not blown up as it happens on other phones. You don't get artifacts or any problems. Every once in a while the colors may look a bit off, and the ultra-wide is definitely on the blurry and noisy side, but stick to nightscape, you'll be happy with the results delivered. And once again, it captures much more light than I expected for a phone that's at $400 price tag. Okay, I'm skipping forward to get to the shots that we usually rely on to test the behavior in front of strong lights, and as you can see, it can handle its own quite well. So skip the ultra-wide camera, stick to nightscape, and you'll produce some high mid-range worthy results. Okay, so this has been the photo presentation. It's on par with most, if not all, mid-range phones, let's say below $600 in 2020. And now let's go to the videos, and for videos I'm going to resort to this player. We have 12 vids, and the most relevant is, as usual, the one which starts off the whole thing. It's the stabilization test. This is a small screen, not very relevant what you're seeing here. I can tell you what I'm seeing. In all the clips I have, there's a strong motion. When you're panning, shakiness. When you're walking, shakiness. Full HD, shakiness. 4K, you get it, shakiness. Now, you can skip that, so definitely not a good stabilization. Also, the colors feel a bit too intense. Things are a bit overexposed, which is weird because it was a cloudy day and a dark day. Maybe it's trying to compensate, and this is actually one of the okay videos, exposure-wise and balance-wise. Now, if you look at these, which are shot in 4K, they're very intense and very white. You can actually see that even on the small screen, and this reflects also on a bigger screen. So maybe tone down the brightness and turn down the white balance. This is the cinematic one, which you can shoot with black bars for a Hollywood-like effect. It's actually nice looking. Nokia 8.3 5G also had one, and it gives that dramatic effect. But once again, all of the 4K videos we have have too intense colors and too white. There's too much white in the picture. Maybe you can tweak it to make it look better, but I've seen better. What actually impressed me the most, you're going to laugh, was the selfie video, which is actually not bad. I'm talking about stabilization, focus, details, texture, what have you. It's actually solid enough for a vlog. So it cannot fight in the upper echelon. It definitely cannot fight the Galaxy A51 or A71. It can maybe fight the Huawei P40 Lite 5G, and honestly the Poco X3 NFC filmed better than this one, at least in sharpness. Focus is quite fast, as you can see, so there's that. And when it comes to the low light video, many phones have died on this hill, this one too. It's a mission impossible, of course. As you can see, everything is blown up, too bright, blurry, noisy, grainy, and rather poor, which was to be expected at this price range. We're done with the camera. We're talking about connectivity, and what we're getting here is double experience. You get 4G and 5G connectivity, and this handset also provides you with Wi-Fi dual band, Bluetooth 5.1, GPS dual band, NFC, and USB-C 2.0 here at the bottom. Now, if you want to talk about the performance in our connectivity tests, we have to go here, and this is the speed test app by Ookla. And before that, I have to mention that calls were loud and clear, and on Wi-Fi we got up to 385 megabits/second downloads and 24.8 megabits/second uploads, and on 4G 198 downloads and 56.6 uploads. These are megabits/second, and that's what we achieved. Sadly, we didn't have a 5G SIM or 5G connectivity handy in our area. Now let's talk about the software. Now we're running on Android 10 with Oxygen OS on top of it. It's actually Oxygen OS 10.5.7 if you really want to, know. And if you're wondering about the updates we're about to get, well, this handset will only receive, I repeat, only Android 11, and that's it. There's no love for Android 12 here. Now, aside from that, the experience is pretty much stock and customizable. We have the Google News feed here. You can pinch the screen and get to the wallpapers, widgets, and home settings. The widgets are everything stock from Google. And here we have the home settings. You got your icons, your discover, double tap to lock, launcher layout, drawer option, notification dots, and you can choose the icon pack and the home screen layout. You can also have a hidden space. For multitasking, we got the carousel of thumbnails, the horizontally scrolling carousel, and of course there's also the obvious option of doing a split screen, as you can see here. Okay, now aside from that, we have the drop down area where you can see the notifications and quick settings, and we also have the screen recorder here and the Zen mode if you want to chill out. And these are the options related to connectivity, customization with quite a few features. There are themes here, there are accent colors, tone, system icons, fonts, icon packs, and more. For security, we have the fingerprint scanner at the backside. Haven't seen that one in a while. It's a bit hit and miss. Also not the fastest in the world, so there's that. I mean, it's okay, but it's not 100%. It's something like 90%, and nowadays that doesn't cut it anymore. Okay, and I see we don't have that extra alert slider button, which we saw on many OnePlus phones. But we do have some extra options. We have digital well-being and parental controls, but also utilities like parallel apps, app locker, pocket mode, OnePlus Switch, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I forgot anything, and as far as the pre-installed apps are concerned, there's no bloatware here, and OnePlus doesn't exactly contribute with extras, which is actually good news nowadays. Okay, so this is pretty much it as far as the review is concerned, and now I should probably show you the verdict regarding the handset. We have the pros and cons here. On the pro side, it's got 5G connectivity, it's got a pretty okay performance and a fast charging. The battery life is satisfying. We have pretty okay acoustics with the dual speakers on board, and also we took some good pictures with the main camera for sure. The nightscape was a bit of a star. Bokeh was fine, selfies were nice. The selfie video actually surprised me, and connectivity is rather fast and we have a clean software. On the other hand, we don't have Android 11 here, the phone is rather pricey, the backside draws quite a bit of fingerprints and the screen is not bright. The main drawback here is actually the fact that the screen is not bright, especially outdoors. We're only getting Android 11 and the 4K video captures that we've done here aren't, well, as sharp and as colorized as the Galaxy A51 and A71 ones this year. Stabilization wasn't top notch and there are poor details in the ultra-wide photos. And the macro also has poor details. In the end, OnePlus would be better served if they sold this phone for $350 or $300. It's not a bad phone, but you can get better for less of a price tag. I mean, for example, you can definitely get better things out of Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G. It's superior to this one in screen. It has double the brightness or something like that, and also definitely higher performance and even a better battery and a better camera, so why not spend less on that one? You're going to buy this phone definitely for the interface, for the clean and stock Oxygen OS, maybe for the fast charging, and also for the nightscape performance and perhaps the acoustics. These are some of the pros. Of course, there's also the 5G aspect, but in the end, the price is the problem. $400 doesn't cut it anymore. You can go to other phones like the Huawei P40 Lite 5G is much more powerful than this one CPU wise, while the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G is a better bang for the buck. Wait for the price to drop and then you can start thinking about it, but the screen definitely is not the selling point here. It's actually a drawback. This is it from gsno.com. Hope you have everything cleared up. Bye bye.